Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video and welcome back to round 2 of season 7 of our F124 Haas driver career mode. Yes, we're back this weekend here for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Of course, if you missed out on the video that went live at the end of last week from Bahrain, I would highly recommend going back and checking it out. Round 1 of the new season is always quite an exciting time. You get to learn which teams have done well over the winter and which teams maybe haven't done so well over the winter. And sadly for us, it was a pretty bad weekend. Charles Leclerc took the victory, you know, kind of kick-starting Mercedes Mercedes and Charles on a bit of a redemption tour to kickstart the year. George Russell came through for P2 ahead of Enzo Fittipaldi and Oscar Piastri there, leaving Mercedes and Ferrari tied at the top of the Constructors' Championship. Leclerc did get a little bit lucky though. Both Lando Norris and Fernando Alonso separately retired from the lead of the Grand Prix with mechanical issues, so it was a bit of a torrid time for those two drivers. We came through for P13 after I made a couple of errors later on in the afternoon, just trying to work out a few things with the car. Definitely didn't take the setup in the right direction in round 1. But yeah, Jeddah though we return to this weekend. It's often been a good track for me inside the F1 game. Mainly because the AI are a little bit easy around this venue as well then. But of course, if you're new, please do make sure you leave a like, get yourself subscribed to the channel, of course. This is the last season of F124 driver career mode we're going to be doing. Hopefully F125 is going to be announced quite soon. And if you want to get early access to all the videos as well on the channel, for just £1 a month, you can hit that join button as well. Like I said, you get early access to all the videos, you get your name mentioned at the start, and a couple of other little perks for £12 a year. I hope it's worth it to some of you guys, and it does massively help support the channel as well. But without further ado then, let's head out onto the Jeddah Corniche, and hopefully we can get our first points of the year.
Welcome to Jeddah Corniche, one of the fastest circuits on the calendar, but let's see who will be the fastest of them all. It's time to set the grid for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Yes, it's time for qualifying.
Well, here we are then, ready for one-shot qualifying here in Jeddah. And at the last weekend where we really struggled with the brakes, I've really spent a lot of time in free practice trying to just fine-tune it. So hopefully we're going to have less problems this weekend. It'll allow us to brake later into the corners and try and be a little bit more aggressive. Of course, we've only still taken 1 pole in our return to Haas inside this game. I would love to get another one tonight. This should be a good track for us. Obviously, again, a very, very high-power circuit. Very, very dependent on that. I mean, look at that. Nearly the entire S section was completely flat out there. Only a small blend in the transition right towards the end there. That first sector has been really, really good. Of course, these cars now with so much downforce inside this game, so you really are just chucking them around and hoping that obviously they're going to stick, because you can get away with running so much less wing in certain places as well. There as we try and use a bit of DRS down the back straight that really isn't as straight. Of course, winding our way through in towards Sector 3. This one of the most tricky corners of the lap. Just horrible to try and tip it in and get the line right there. But as we open up the DRS then for the second time, I can't remember. There's a lot of DRS zones around this venue. Whoa! Huge moment there through the final corner, and a bit like Max Verstappen back in 2021 then, we're going to bottle it through that final turn there. Huge rear locking, and what could have been pole ends up as 9th. Well, there we go. McLaren will lock out the front row here. George Russell ahead of Lando Norris on the grid. Last weekend's winner Charles Leclerc will only line up in P4 as Théo Pourchaire there, a 1/10 of a second quicker than Fernando Alonso. That's quite an impressive one for the young Frenchman. Gutted though for us, because I think we would have at the very least kind of been in with those McLarens fighting on the front row of the grid. We will instead line up P9, but if you watched our Sauber career mode video last week, you'll know we can make progress here.
So here we are then, welcoming you today to one of the jewels of the Arab world. Jeddah, one of the biggest cities in Saudi Arabia, second only to Riyadh, gateway to Mecca. One of the biggest ports in the region, and now host to the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. So let's take a look at a topographical map of the Jeddah Street Circuit. As you can see, a number of challenging corners for the drivers to master here. We'll see just how much the teams have benefited from their time spent in practice this weekend. And like many street circuits, this track has the potential to punish drivers that get it wrong. Let's hope we avoid any safety cars today. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. George Russell will begin today's event in pole position, edging out Lando Norris, who'll start from P2. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Oscar Piastri, Leclerc, Teo Porcher, Hamilton, Fernando Alonso, Firestarter, Sargent, Perez, Gasly, Tsunoda, Iwasa, Stroll, Ricciardo, Fittipaldi, Behrman, Vesti, Ocon, and Zhou Guanyu. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out then. Let's see who can prevail today.
Well, here we are then down on the grid, ready for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. 25 laps ahead of us here. But yeah, ultimately, I'm not sure how Enzo Fittipaldi's ended up with a grid penalty for the start of this one. It's only round 2 of the year, and already problems coming in for the Brazilian. He didn't even have a mechanical failure in Bahrain, so how Ferrari have gone through all their components, I don't know. Either that, or maybe they've tried to be strategic here. Perhaps make sure that he doesn't get grid penalties later on down the line. But yeah, lining up then P8 because of that. It is going to be an intense race here tonight, though. 5 red lights up on the grid. And it's going to be lights out on away we go there. Fernando Alonso, both Aston Martins actually not getting off to a particularly good getaway. Oh no! How? How on earth have I been spanning all of that going on? Yeah, that seems about right.
Red flag. We'll update you in the pits.
I mean, we binned it like at turn 3 last weekend. Somehow done it even earlier this time round. Just, again, struggling with those front brakes early on here. It is going to drastically change up the strategy, though.
We've got another half of this race to go, and there's still a big opportunity there.
As everybody then is surely going to go on the hard tyres. And effectively now, this has become a no-stop strategy in this Grand Prix. Yep, you can see most cars have done that. 5 red lights once again, then. And it's going to be lights out, and away we go. This time around, Logan Sargent perhaps struggling a little bit on the getaway. He really wants to cover me off in towards that first corner. We'll try and take it a little bit easier than we did last time round as well. I think we were 3 wide on the exit of that first turn there. So both Red Bulls we were wheel to wheel with off of turn 1. Looks like, yeah, we have just about been able to get past the pair of them there as Norris and Teo Porcher wheel to wheel. Oh! The Aston Martin making contact with the McLaren. Obviously, Teo's first time running around here in a Formula 1 car inside this series, but looks like George Russell then in the other McLaren has absolutely bolted off the start of this one. So a nice clean getaway for him following Oscar Piastri and both of those Mercedes. So yeah, Lewis Hamilton running up in P4, but I think that might have been the quickest ever red flag I've had inside F1 24. I'll hold up my hand, it was completely my own fault. I just misjudged the braking in towards turn 1 there, focusing too much on the Aston Martin on my outside. And that could have gone a little bit better had I wanted it to. Oh, Teo, yeah, is definitely just barely hanging on to those cars in front. For some reason he's going to go defensive down in towards turn 12 there. Oh, slide up the racetrack on the exit. And we will try and do the old up and under then, wheel to wheel. Oh, we go. Is again great defensive driving from Teo Porcher here, from a 2-time Formula 1 world champion. I mean, yeah, he's immediately come into the sport and is looking confident as we will get the DRS though, and around the outside. Don't often see moves through that section of the circuit.
Good job.
But we have got to try and get back in the range of Lando Norris, which we almost do instantly. How much speed has Teo Porcher got back down there then? Okay. Came past me like a missile off of that corner. So again, we'll get the DRS back in towards turn 1. And I think if we can keep using each other like this, then it could work quite nicely short term.
Okay,
Leclerc new fastest laps of the day. So we've kind of got our top 3 have really broken away. Sorry, top 2 even have broken away. Oscar Piastri, Hamilton and Norris there getting a little bit disconnected as we will go back around the outside of Teo at turn 1. Oh, there we go, Hamilton again to the outside of Oscar Piastri. I mean, we're just watching these guys ready to war against each other at this stage of the day. I'm surprised we've struggled as much as we have for race pace so far. I just don't enjoy the hard tyres inside this game, especially around a circuit like this. As Hamilton then will get around Oscar Piastri. Oh, Lando Norris thought about it. We've just got to try and get a big run on all 3 of them at some point. which is much easier said than done there. It's not Lando just struggling to get the power down off of turn 1. He's going to try and swing defensive on us. Can we do the old up and under in towards the S's? No, we can't. Again, then we're just trying to force Lando off of his line there. We'll swing to the outside in towards turn 12. Similar to what we tried to do to Teo Porcher a few laps ago. But this time around, we'll carry the momentum around the outside there and up into P5 of the GP. So we are making good, steady progress. But yeah, I'm just a little bit worried about how quickly Leclerc and Russell have ran away at the front. That is going to be a difficult gap to overhaul. There we go. Again, Oscar Piastri outside of Lewis Hamilton. Will they go wheel to wheel into the next corner? No, they won't. Hamilton there trying to play the strategic game. Of course, obviously, Fernando Alonso still in the sport. So, despite how old Hamilton is now inside this game, he is still not Formula One's most experienced driver. As he's going to try and have a look to the outside of Oscar Piastri. I thought about going to the inside down at turn 1. Oh, Hamilton gets a little bit squeezed out over the curb, so he's going to go from attacking to actually losing a place off the exit of that first corner.
Nice work, mate. That brings you up a place.
Now we get our first idea then of just the gap to those top two. It's floating at about 3 seconds. But you just see how much more confidence we've got than the AI through the S's. That's definitely where our strength seems to lie this weekend. As Oscar Piastri very, very slow off the exit of turn 12. And unlike most, he won't get baited into going defensive in towards that banking there. So Oscar Piastri, obviously reigning world champion, the #1 car, back on that Ferrari yet again inside this game with yet another driver. But Oscar won't play the kind of games that you expect from a lot of other people inside this series. Very, very cool, calm and collected is the young Australian, but we will get around the outside, then use that DRS.
0.4 seconds.
Not a fun corner to try and commit to an overtake through, but we have done it. But will he immediately come flying back past me in towards this final corner? I think he might. It's Oscar Piastri. There he goes. We'll get the DRS once again then. So, yeah, really having to play the strategic game there. As I've said so many times, the DRS is probably a bit too powerful inside F124, especially when you combine it with the battery as well. So you see immediately Oscar, when he's trying to save the battery, slows down. Around the outside we will go, and up into third.
Russell has just completed a pass for the lead.
Oh, we got another red flag.
Red flag.
Oh, there's been a roadblock down at turn 1. No idea what's happened, but suddenly that works beautifully for us. 2 red flags this weekend up to this point, but that one works fantastically. I was just about to say that we were really struggling to kind of make any inroads on our top 2.
Change our strategy for the rest of the Grand Prix if we want to.
Oh, I mean, less than 10 laps to go then. We've got to go with the soft compound tyres, surely. I'm really just trying to push towards the checkered flag then. But what a lifeline that has been. That time round, it wasn't my fault. So, you know, we'll take that one quite nicely as well then. But Russell will lead the way off of this restart. 5 red lights. And he's going to be lights out and away we go then. Charles Leclerc gets a much better getaway. So does Hamilton though, in towards turn 1 there. So both Mercedes getting off to a good start. We've got more yellow flags out further back, as I think that's a V car breaking down off of the restart there. Hamilton, I just don't have the confidence to go wheel to wheel in through turn 3 there, as that's Daniel Ricciardo immediately out of the race off of the restart. So no idea. I would assume it's just been a mechanical failure for the Australian as well there. But what chaos then. You know, just all in a moment. I thought we were going to be in for a very, very quiet final 10 laps here. But apparently not inside this game. And now Charles Leclerc has potentially got a bit of a rear gunner in Lewis Hamilton back up into the podium places. We've got to use these soft compound tyres nice and early on for this restart. You know, we've got to be able to use the grip advantage over the AI. But anything can happen now towards the end of the afternoon. Well, I think Hamilton then again, we've seen it so many times inside this series, maybe just showing his age now down at Mercedes, because he has lost that DRS range to Leclerc and George Russell just in front of him. Lando Norris in a bit of no man's land just behind. I've got to be strategic though. Of course all our tyre pressure data is reading 0. Why wouldn't EA have patched this at any point in the last 3 months? Anyway, let's try and get a run then on Lewis. Pick a lane, please, buddy. Just don't think you realised we had such a run on him.
Good. You hit that target nicely. There's a long way to go in this race, so let's keep it clean.
Well, I might have accidentally then been really strategic as well at that final corner. Nope, Lewis will get the DRS back on me. So are we going to see him get another run back in towards turn 1? There is new fastest lap of the day for ourselves. Hamilton will get really close, but not close enough there as Russell to the outside of Charles Leclerc. These two are putting on a show early on. They know they're going to be championship rivals this season. As look at that, neither of them willing to give up in towards the S's. They're still side by side as we wind our way through. This is brilliant racing. Russell will hang on to it, but very, very rarely do you see the AI manage that inside this game. Oh, there goes Lewis Hamilton back to the inside of us. 6 laps to go. As George Russell trying to make a similar move to Leclerc. Yeah, we're definitely, I mean, we're actually struggling already with a little bit of rear tyre attempt, so we're going to have to try and just rein this back in a little bit. See that rear right there just overheating, and it's corners like this that'll really make the difference. Oh, Charles Leclerc, George Russell, neither of them are willing to give each other an inch towards the end of the afternoon. Everybody remembers back to last season how critical every single point is now in Formula 1, so it really does mean the drivers are having to battle it out for victory every single race. You've got to take the risk, you've got to try and make the moves and get yourself into prime position. But I'll be honest, yeah, the soft tyre gamble has really not worked for me. In fact, that rear is actually getting worse and worse. So I'm just trying to hang with these guys for as long as I can, and maybe we can try and make a move right at the end. But what a car Mercedes have built. Did not expect to be saying that this weekend. This has never been a track that historically has suited them. But, yeah, both drivers in the fight for the win. I'm trying to think. I genuinely don't know whether Hamilton has ever won a race in this series inside F1 24. I'm sure he has.
Okay, they're slowing down.
No way!
Some kind of problem with their car.
Leclerc now with issues towards the end of the afternoon, so that might immediately cost him time here as Russell surely will try and have a look straight back past the Mercedes then. So just like we saw in Bahrain then, clearly still some reliability gremlins to fix on that Mercedes car, and you can see now Russell and Hamilton bunch up behind the Monegasque driver there. Lando Norris is not that far behind either at this stage of the race, but surely you've got to try and make the moves. Hamilton to the outside of George Russell. Will he be able to get to the outside of Leclerc as well? They're almost 3 wide there before Russell backs out of it. We have got the best seat in the house, but Lewis Hamilton to the lead of the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix there. Russell is going to make it by as well. We need to try and go for it there as Russell trying to get back past both Mercedes in towards someone there, and he will. Look at that, around the outside of his former teammate. He will go. We will get down the inside of our former teammate. But pretty much everybody in this group has raced alongside everybody else. But how quickly will Leclerc drop away? Because as soon as Lando Norris has got inside the range, I think he might immediately lose it again, being stuck behind Charles. Oh, through that first sector there, desperately trying to hang on and keep the car between the white lines. Through that first sector, you can see the gap already up to 3/4 of a second. Norris will get to the inside of Charles Leclerc as well. That gap now up to 9/10 of a second. But I think Oscar will just, Lando even, will just about hang in the range. Oh, here comes Lando Norris against myself. Then to the inside will go the second of the McLarens. We cannot afford to give this up though, with 1 lap to go, as we will try and get the power down around his outside. 4 British drivers battling for the top 4 positions towards the end of this race. But Hamilton again then to the outside of George Russell. I think that time round the McLaren just about able to squeeze him out in towards that first corner there. And is Hamilton just biding his time now? One of Formula 1's most experienced drivers, easily Formula 1's most successful driver, by wins, by pole positions, tied for world championships as well, alongside the great Michael Schumacher. So that was not the line we needed through there, a little bit wide. But again, luckily we will gather it up on the exit of the corner. I've tried to save as much DRS as I possibly can for the final run through those final couple of corners here. But Russell just looks to be in control a little bit towards the end of the race. We've got the low fuel warning light on there for just a second, but I think we're going to be good to make it back around to the start-finish line there. As you can see, how much now the car is trying to break free underneath us. We just got to try and be a little bit closer to Hamilton by the time we get down in towards this final DRS zone of the lap. But he is waiting. He has positioned himself behind George Russell here. Open at the battery once again. Utilise that DRS in towards the final corner. Hamilton, he goes left, he goes right. He couldn't make anything happen with it though. Russell with a very, very aggressive block. This could be a drag race towards the start-finish line then, as we will have a look to the outside of Lewis Hamilton. Who is going to win the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix? They're around the outside of one. Russell will take it.
George Russell has done it. George Russell is the winner.
A great display of dominance today by this driver. They led from lights out to the flag at the end, led every lap of the race. Brilliant stuff by them, and excited to see what more they can do in future races.
Our drivers are making their way out for the podium celebrations, and it's going to be McLaren picking up the winner's trophy. Congratulations to the entire team for that fantastic performance.
Well, there we are then. 4 British drivers rounding out your top 4 there. All of us covered by just 0.6 of a second. That was like Formula 1 back at Monza in the 1960s. But easily one of the most intense races I have ever had inside this game. Russell will take the win though, ahead of myself. Hamilton ahead of Norris with Charles Leclerc in P5. Oscar Piastri, Sergio Perez, Porsche, Fittipaldi and Alonso will round out our top 10. And again, Pierre Gasly just struggling to really make an impact against the big drivers there, unless he's on a bot strategy call earlier on in the race. Ricciardo and Zhou are 2 drivers that fail to see the checkered flag, and a bit gutted that Williams seemed to have the slowest car by the end of the afternoon. So yeah, not too sure what went wrong for them. Championship-wise then, Russell now with a 9-point buffer over Leclerc at the top of the table. We will move straight up into P4, just 1 point behind Oscar Piastri and Hamilton. I really did think today was going to be the day we see the Brit back on top as well there, but unfortunately it wasn't meant to be. Tied now in 5th with Enzo Fittipaldi, just ahead of Porsche, Norris, and both of those Red Bulls with points on the board already. We have already seen 13 drivers score points though from the opening 2 Grand Prix, so that's pretty good going. Leaves just both Williams, both Alpines, both Kick Saubers, and Wasser, who is yet to score there. McLaren now with a 4-point lead at the top of the constructors, ahead of Mercedes. Ferrari having a bit of a terrible weekend there, just ahead of ourselves. Aston Martin and Red Bull tied with VCarb, yeah, with points on the board. Thank you all so much for watching this video though. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure you leave a like, get yourself subscribed. That has easily got to be one of the most intense races I've ever commentated on inside F1 24. But yeah, we'll be back very soon then, ready for the Australian Grand Prix.